So first of all, this is not really about us, although I'll tell our story, since you're all English speakers and we're English speakers. That's the way that we can get the mountain to come to you, since you didn't come to the mountain, although Brian here said he's been there. Okay, so the last time we were in New Hampshire was almost to the day, almost 30 years ago on our honeymoon.
Wow.
And it was the last week we spent in our American identities, because very shortly after that, we made Aliyah. How many weeks after we did our honeymoon here?
6 weeks.
6 weeks after we
were
were
no, 6 weeks after the wedding, so that's included.
So we were about, well, now you're starting to think, how old are they? Okay. So we were like, I'll go back though, to the time before we got married. My husband and I were born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. In typical American households. My father was a Holocaust survivor, and he went to speak to audiences about his experience of survival in the Holocaust. And as a little girl, I would accompany him, and maybe because of that inspiration, he put in me the ability to be able to tell our story. Because, you know, we're all connected, all the generations, you know, all the way back. We're holding our parents' hand, and they're holding their parents' hand, and they're holding their parents' hand, and the chain is really long, and it all goes to one place. It goes to Israel. So that when you're growing up with an American identity, and you know that the Holocaust happened only a few years before you were born, but you also know at the same time, in your apple pie and Chevrolet and your That 70s show, and your Led Zeppelin or whatever you were doing at that time, you know, in all of that, you are standing in the temple or in school, and you're looking at the Israeli flag. So there's a lot going through your mind as far as what is my identity. So as a little girl, I would listen to Naomi Shemer sing Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. And of course, as a little child, I would sing it. So first it became just a thought. And with baseball games, with all the other distractions going on, we were learning Torah. You know, we went to Rambam Yeshiva. It was like a very modern Orthodox place. But there were certain things that really I contemplated on. One of them was, when is Messiah coming? When is Mashiach coming? And I would like lay in bed at night in Brooklyn, New York, as a little girl, looking out my window and thinking, how long are we going to wait? I feel zealous for Zion. I feel impassioned. I have to do it. I have to go. But as a little girl, what can I do? And I knew my husband then, and we were actually friends. And then we kind of went our separate ways. My school closed down. I winded up my high school in the middle of 10th grade closed. And I had the choice of either going to a more Haredi, how do you say, school? How do you say that?
Haredi.
Yeah, like a more...
Observant.
You want to call it that way. Yeah, ultra-Orthodox, or mainstreaming into the regular secular world. And my parents gave me that choice, and I chose to go to mainstream. So I blended in. I became even more American in my identity, but there was something in the backdrop of what I heard those stories about Yosef. Yosef, that he was taken by his brothers. He was a dreamer. He like, you know, oh, I have this dream. It's going to be really... And they're like, okay, this is no good. It's time to take Yosef and throw him in the pit. Let's throw him in the pit and let's get rid of him. But, you know, it went well for him because he was thrown in the pit, then he went down to Egypt, then he went into prison, and things got really bad, but then things got really great, and what happened? His dreams came true. So I'm thinking, as I'm growing up, these things happen to these people. HaShem said to Abraham, get up, get up, and leave. I'm going to take you to a place, but I'm going to have to show it to you when we get there. He didn't say, what was it? What's the name of it? What does it look like? What are the conditions? He said, okay, I'm coming. So when you're learning about the stepping stones of your identity, even though you're mainstreaming into secular life, there are certain things that really were ringing, like a red light was buzzing the whole time. After a while, I started to feel that my life was a contradiction. Why? Because you know how it is. You go to temple, you open up the prayer book, and what does it say? speedily rebuild Jerusalem in our day and all the prayers that we do. And we're looking at the Israeli flag and what's going on here. I'm going to demonstrate for Soviet Jews behind the Iron Curtain while all these Americans are like, okay, let's go home, let's be Americans. So things started to really disturb me. What was more disturbing was that I felt odd because no one really felt that way. Today it's different, by the way. In 1985, it was rare to want to not continue on to be a doctor and a lawyer and whatever else our classmates were doing. So as HaShem had it, Moshe and I met after not seeing each other for 7 years. And the first thing we said was, Israel. And we were young and we were crazy. So we got married, and our honeymoon here in New Hampshire was actually the end of a book. And then we opened a new book, and it was A Life in Israel. And we were young, and we were newlyweds, and we said, during that time, if you know about what was going on, I'm sure you all know what Israel looks like, right? So most of the people that live in Israel live on the coast, or live in Jerusalem, or in big cities. But the very middle of the country, the heartland of the country, that mountain range where all those stories took place about Yosef and Abraham and Rebecca, all the stories happened right on that mountain range, right in the center between the Jordan Valley and Tel Aviv, not more than an hour away from any place. At that time, Gush Emunim was an organization that was encouraging people to go and settle the heartland of Israel. And the places were very, very, what's the word, scanty, sparse, Spartan.
Sparsely populated.
Very sparsely populated and not great conditions. It was like rugged. And we scouted the land, like you said, about the spies. We went to the Gaza Strip. I didn't like the heat and the sand. We went to the Hebron area. It was very dry. I mean, of course, they were all beautiful, breathtaking, but it wasn't that connect. And then I had a friend that was living right outside of Shechem, which is basically right in the center of the country, up on a high mountain, surrounded by mountains. And they invited us for Shabbat. And the minute we got off the bus, my husband and I looked at each other. And we said, this is it. And let me tell you what it looked like. Rocks, thorns, breathtaking views, and 10 houses. 10 little prefab houses with no road. It was only one dirt road. And they were all Israelis, obviously, living there. And we decided that we wanted to live there. And then when we finally told people at home, oh, we found a place that we really want to call home. It's called Itamar, and it's in the middle of the country. It's right in the center. Where? Where is it? In Rehovot? In Tel Aviv? What middle? You know, right in the middle, in Samaria, on the mountains. How many buses do you have a day? One. From the junction, that we have to have a ride to the junction. Do you have a mikveh? No. Do you have a post office? No. Do you have a phone? One phone for everyone. And I was working in Manhattan at the Jewish agency wearing high heels like this, carrying an important briefcase, you know, in the fast lane, at the fast pace, going on the train, you know, every day. Everyone feels so important, you know. And here I am, like, it's just the wind. And it's like nothing there. And, wow, 30 years. So we're living there 29 years. And we have a very amazing testimony to tell you that although I know every person in this room is an Israel advocate, and first of all, we also want to thank all of you for coming and sharing with us. I think it's so important for you as advocates to be encouraged also, because the odds, yes, are against us all. They are. They're against us. I'll tell you our story. And the odds are against you. But you know what? It's always been the few in the hands of the many that have made history. So that although with what you're doing, it may seem like a mundane thing to have a baby, hang your laundry outside, build another house, and time is dragging on, like you mentioned today, like a pregnancy. Like, you know, when you're pregnant, you're nauseous. and it's like, and you're hot, it's getting more difficult to walk. Finally, the baby's born. People, Israel is blooming. It is green. It is productive. What was once a rock is now a boutique winery selling wine and winning awards, despite the European Union sanctions. Come on. It is, Judea and Samaria has over 300,000 people living there today. That's why I'm saying, you said, Leah and Moshe. No, this is not really, I'm telling our story just as a venue, just to lead in to showing you that even though you're walking down, what is that, Harvard Street over there, and everyone thinks it's so important in the God, and everyone knows the truth, and you have to be so careful, and the truth is that prophecy is coming true. When my father's family became a pile of bones, like many families, you can open up actually the Bible and read in the book of Ezekiel. If you want to know about what's happening today, that pile of bones became that boy sitting right there. A soldier in an elite force fighting our enemy proudly and winning. So the world may try and continue to make us into nebuchs, and they're going to tell Israel, no, you're going to build a room onto your house that's going to prevent world peace. You may not build. I will implement a building freeze to make it Judenrein. Think about this a minute. This is nothing short of, you know the word, while at the same time they're promoting the enemy. Yeah. There are signs in our villages that I can give you my testimony that say U.S. aid on those villages. Yeah. There is a city right now being built between Ramallah and Shechem called Ruabi that is getting full American aid. When the Oslo Accords came about and the wonderful idea for peace, you know, in the Middle East, and it's going to be just great, and the American government took the Palestinian army, General Dayton took them to Pennsylvania and trained them to kill my neighbors. Yes. So you must know that in the name of peace, these atrocities are continuing. And the newest thing, of course, is let's build an Islamic state right in the heart of Israel, up on that mountain. That is the only strategic place. Put away the Bible. Let's say you're not religious, okay? Put away history. Let's say, okay, Israel never lived there. Let's talk about modern day solutions. Everything is low. And then you come to a high point. Well, if I'm sitting there, believe me, the American embassy in Tel Aviv will stay safe. If Hamas takes over where I live, that's the end of Israel. And that's all it is. It's very simple. So when people try to come to you and start saying, well, you know, we need peace in the Middle East, you have to have your facts, and you have to know also strategics. You have to know how big Israel is. You have to present it. Israel is the size of New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and all the other states surrounding it. Let's say they were ISIS. Would New Jersey continue to survive?
No.
No. New Jersey is a high point. They're all low points. Give New Jersey away. You'll bring peace to the United States. I don't think so. So you can talk to someone biblically, you can talk to someone historically, because all you have to do is show the proof. The proof is in you. It's in the Torah portion, okay? It's in what you see on the ground. Or you can say, okay, let's not talk about history. Let's talk about now. Now, while ISIS is banging on the fence of Jordan, and I'm not kidding now, okay? Syria, oh yeah, give away the Golan, no problem. Give it away for peace. If Israel had given the Golan away, ISIS would be right now in Tiberias. So we've covered our story, which I didn't really tell. I'll tell some more. I don't know how much time there is. And we've covered the past and now the present. Let's talk about the future. This is Tzav HaSha'ah. How do you say it? This is the
call of the hour.
This is the call of the hour. This is the call of the hour, and this is why I left my 4 grandchildren and my 5 children. I got one with me. And things at home to come and to try and mentor people that care, to give them encouragement. We can't be discouraged because prophecy is coming true. Israel was empty. 100 years ago, there was nothing there. It is more beautiful, I think. I mean, we see how beautiful it is here. There's no doubt that it's beautiful. But look at it. It's amazing. There are more startup countries in Israel than anywhere. Anything that you use, a pacemaker, a cell phone, Waze, anything. So, okay, we didn't get the oil, which we'll find, don't worry. Hashem finds a way.
Yes.
You know what they say? Bezrat Hashem. Hashem is willing, it's up to you. So now it's not enough to think, and now it's not enough to speak. Now we have to act.
Yes.
And this is my call to you as Israel advocates. I think maybe because of the time involved, what we'll do is we'll watch a movie, and then we'll spend time with questions. Okay? Because I didn't tell any of our story. But, okay, it's been nothing but a blessing, and thank you so much. Come on. How's it possible?
Are you allowed to buy weapons to protect yourself?
I have
No. Okay, because that's unique in Israel's side.
Every person carries, can get a carry permit for a weapon.
Yeah, my son was wondering about that.
Yeah, sure.
He works as a security guard.
So how can we help you? They mentioned that you need security cameras and also bulletproof vests.
Thank you for asking.
Right. Well, first of all, Itamar, again, we're building, we look at many different aspects. We're involved in education, security, for the community, of course, and in building parks and infrastructure. So we're doing many different areas. And any person who feels a certain connection in a certain area could find something that he likes. You saw the children, for example, special needs children. It's a very special school, a very unique school, in that the kids afterwards, talking about probably 85% are in special forces or in special units in the Israeli army. They continue on building the land, getting involved in our dream, our pioneering dream, continuing living in other areas. So we can look around the hills of Itamar, we can see other communities, small communities, that were actually started by our students that graduated our high school. So it's a very unique school in that way.
But getting back to your question.
So it's finances.
So it's,
you need finances.
well, that is very important. Yeah. So we established a 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization, and you can tell your friends about it too. And all donations are welcome.
Can we earmark specific projects?
Yes, you
Yes.
should. You should, because there are different.
And they're listed.
Yes,
like-
it's on the pamphlet. They're listed.
Okay.
Yes, we
So
just.
that's the quickest way and the best way to help you.
Yes, thank you very much. And also, if you could bring to your shul maybe
sure.
some. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Do you have a master plan of how you're going to expand and 5-year plan, 10-year plan?
Yeah, you're all going to be there.
But really, yes, what you're saying is a good question.
You'll see it.
Or is it just haphazard?
No.
No.
Every community
No,
has a
no,
city
no.
plan to it.
Oh, okay, they do it.
Yes, it's
called
all in a plan.
It's called in Hebrew Taba, which is a
Who
book.
does the plan?
The plan is done, again, it's done by engineers and architects, and it's authorized by the Israeli government. It has to be
On
done.
Tel Aviv or?
Just like any other city like Tel Aviv, it has to be done through the channels. And the city plan is afterwards, it has to go into details of defining, each area exactly how it's going to be built, how the house is going to look. It's very, very defined. This is really a law of the government. So it's not haphazard.
Okay. Good.
Things in certain areas might have started that way, like when you want to pioneer, you go out to a hilltop, you set up a tent, but afterwards you have to really go through the channels. And yes, everything is done through the channels of it's called the Regional Council, which is connected to the government of Israel.
Okay. What part did you play initially when you were in Itamar? Did you have a specific position and role there?
Well, yes. Well, many years. Personally, I was a rabbi and a teacher for many years, but I also got involved many years ago in the politics of the community. You can say 15 years in the council, almost 9 years as the mayor of the community of Itamar. For many years. So I'm very involved. I know exactly. That's why I can answer you about city plans. And today we're serving more as foreign ministers, going around trying to promote the community from the outside, because there's just so much to do. Yeah.
I found the part about the school really interesting. The kids live there.
They dorm there, yes. And their parents are very brave. because there was a terror attack on the school.
Well, we saw the picture because what didn't come out so clear on the small TV, but the security person was talking about the attack, different attacks on the community, and one of them was on the school, and that showed some of the boys that were killed.
The night of that terror attack, I sat with my husband, he's one of the founders of the school, and we said, this must be the end of the school. And the school's quadrupled in size since.
Really?
We need to build new dorms because of so many children
we
going
have
there.
250
It's an
boys
extremely
learning in the
successful
school.
program.
And a special program that helps children at risk, which is part of the high school. It's a special program in itself
That we take them.
that we help carry those
Because
children.
I'm a pharmacist and we just drug our kids.
No, we don't really do that.
And they just need to
Land
be
of Israel.
active.
Yes,
Yes.
right. Well, we
And
try
guidance.
to bring them around the mountains area and to learn the history of Israel. So part of the curriculum is to not only be working with these animals and they learn to be therapy. How do you say it's a therapeutic
Animal
program?
therapy we
For
have.
animal therapy.
On a
But
farm.
they're also going in and let's say you're learning about Joshua, you're learning about Yosef and Tzaddik, you're learning about the great figures in the Torah, but you actually go and see it.
And walk it.
And walk it.
So philosophically, you're do organic gardening.
Yes.
Everyone's,
This is like organic children,
yes,
Right.
yes,
as opposed to drug use.
that's correct.
And as a matter of fact, they're very involved, these kids are very involved in farming. So they go out when the grapes are ready, they pick the grapes and they help
Collect the eggs,
the
the
olive
organic
oil
free-range
and work with
chickens.
these.
It's an organic animal.
Yeah, so it's very, very special.
It's kind to the land.
Hi, Moshe, just a question. I didn't see it too much. I saw some fellows shooting in a range, practicing. But that was about it, and I saw one Israeli IDF fellow in a uniform. What do you do for security? I mean, how
I
do
wanted
you,
to show you a little bit
you
how that
guys
works.
all,
Okay, that's a good question.
could
Good
you explain
question.
that like nighttime and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
daytime
Right.
to prevent the, Mohammedan shepherd to come in and eat all the crops with his goats?
Right, it's a very important question. What do we do for security? So again, I myself, for many years, part of the response team of the community. When the terrible Fogel massacre took place, I was on the scene. When the terrible high school massacre, I was on the scene. So I've been there. I can tell you how it works. We have, first of all, we do have soldiers themselves on active duty that are around the community, but not many. They're really doing the work in the villages around Itamar. Inside the community itself, we have Jeep patrols, and we have a special quick response team we call quick responders. So God forbid a terrorist enters the community, we also have a camera system and a fence on part of the community. So this was things that we've been developing over the years after some of the terrible, you saw Leah crying out the Shabo massacre. That's before we had our camera, before we had one of our security fences. So what happened was terrorists walked into the community and they began to massacre the Shabo family. But later on, a couple of years ago, the Fogel family, we already had our fence and our camera, but they were able to go over the fence in a foggy night, a rainy night, by setting up a ladder. I should have brought some pictures. I could have shown you that. They had a huge ladder just went right over the fence. They found one recently, right near Itamar, as a matter of fact. And just last week before we came, they caught a terrorist planning another attack on the community just last week. So this happens all the time. And how do we deal with that? So again, we have this response team. When there's an emergency call, when the fence is touched, we have a computer that senses that spot being touched, and then a Jeep is sent to that area automatically. We also have Jeep patrols. My son Ephraim, my other son Yosef, they do a lot of volunteer work by patrolling at night. They do that. And we also have army patrols, I mentioned before, that come in the community as well. And we also have at the gate, the entrance of the community is always 24 hours, 2 guards at the entrance of the community as well. And most people carry weapons. A lot of times in Israel, you see what happens, you hear the news. So a lot of times an immediate response by a civilian is going to save lives. A very quick response. Just we heard another attack today, 2 police officers were run over again. Every day now, something new now. Now they're using cars as weapons.
Do you have dogs? Do you like?
Dogs, some people have in their home, they have dogs, as a matter of fact, some people do.
It's a community outside.
No, we
watching
don't.
the
It's
fence.
too big.
Because we had some
It's too
accident, we
big.
had an accident with a dog. I was once doing a training exercise, and the security had this new dog he was experimenting with. And one of our guys got it to shoot, and the dog jumped him and just put him in the hospital. So we said we're getting rid of the dog. It can also be a detriment.
You ever look at
Not too long ago, these video
it's the
cameras.
future?
Israelis developed the drones.
Right. There's something like that takes pictures like a little helicopter. But we have our camera system. We have one, which is very highly developed now. We need another one to complete it on the hills, but we're developing slowly. It's a huge expense. Believe it or not, the Israeli government, which is responsible for our security, and not civilians have to take care of their own security. But unfortunately, the situation of the Israeli budget is always, always poor, and things are just pushed off. Right now, we have a whole plan of one day trying to make our security a little better, but they're far from doing it. And in the meantime, we have to do what we can, because that's how it works. Like one family, everyone pitches in together. The Israeli government and the civilians of the country. It doesn't work that way, I guess, in most of the places in the world. Yeah.
I've got a question that's kind of unrelated to the place you came from. I don't get a chance to talk to many Israelis. But what is the psychology like between the Arab Israelis and the Jewish Israelis, and does it differ from the psychology between the Palestinians that are in the Palestinian territories? I mean, there's a lot of conflict, but surely the majority of the people really have had enough, I would assume, after all these years. I know the Israelis have had enough.
But
Well, unfortunately, no. Unfortunately,
could
And I had one third
you
part of,
define the question a little better?
and the third part of the question is, since the peace treaties were signed with Jordan and Egypt, there has been no outright conflict. But is there an effort to extend some kind of cultural exchange that lowers the temperature of the relationships between the two countries, which have been at war for a long time?
okay, let's try to
What
explain.
two countries?
Well, Egypt and Israel,
Yeah,
Jordan and Israel,
okay.
and of course the ongoing conflict in Gaza and in Lebanon.
I want to explain to the majority, so you have to realize it's a very complicated situation. You define it as complicated.
That's why I'm asking you. I know it's
So the complicated situation is that the Islamic, extremism, which is on the mainstream, very, very powerful in Israel, and it's connected to that same ideology as the ISIS on one side and Iran on the other side, because just the difference of the Shiites talking and the Sunnis, but they both have this extreme mentality of it's all or nothing. They want to make the entire world become Islam, and that's really what's the struggle. What's going on in Israel? If you're familiar with what's going on, I'm not saying they're moderate. They're all moderate Muslims, but they're very, very rare, and then the majority is being taken over by the extreme, dangerous Muslims. And whether
the reason I'm asking
Yeah.
is because I saw some information coming out of Gaza, and the Gazans aren't particularly happy with Hamas, but they've got control now.
Well,
And I don't think
there's
any
also interfighting between Fatah and Hamas all the time. In Shechem, in our area also, you had the shooting at night, civil war between them. So that, again, they're fighting amongst each other. It's just who's going to rule and who's going to... But their goal is very, very clear. Their goal is to annihilate Israel. And
Well, they seem to be annihilating each other now.
Well,
Right.
that's the miracle. And that's the way it was when Abraham came into the land too.
but anyway, that's
There were 4 kings against
What
5
else? It's really not. It's just the Israelis say the Israeli Arabs who have Israeli citizenship. Many of them. You see, if you follow politics, you see, unfortunately, the way they're outright anti-Israel. It's like the Gaius Hamishi is a 5th regiment. But unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Who are the people of Itamar? Where are they coming from? Are they all
Good
Latin or religious
Kabar?
or observants, or are there people from
Okay.
Tel Aviv just coming to Itamar?
Okay.
Okay, fine. So Itamar, first of all, is a very diverse community. Most people would say probably 90% of the community is an Orthodox community. We have a neighborhood of, I would say secular on one hand, but they're traditional, because they're not 100% Orthodox. They're more secular Jews from different parts of Israel, but they're very connected to the land, very much, and they're getting stronger in their study of Torah and the love for the land. Sort of goes together where we are, because you have to feel connected to survive where we are. It's not so simple. But the people come from everywhere, from the south, from the north, mainly 99%, or 95% Israeli. We have some
4% Russians.
Russians, right? 4% Russians.
1% American.
1% American.
One Seinfeld.
One Canadian you saw.
Is your whole family the 1%?
Yeah, and another family. You saw them, farmers.
Two families.
This was the farmers, but one was
The farmers.
Canadian.
So you're 0.5%.
Yeah.
Right, we also have a French couple, and
Yeah, sprinkling of, but it's mostly
it's
Israelis.
mainly Israelis.
And now we have a lot of young couples because we have a yeshiva gvoha. If you heard of Rabbi Ronsky, he was the chief rabbi of the Israeli army, of the IDF, and he runs a yeshiva. And the the boys that come out of the army, they go to learn there, higher learning. And then they get married, and they decide to live on Itamar. That's why it's growing so nicely. We're building a lot of new neighborhoods now.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have two questions that are unrelated. The first is one thing that you would be beneficial to you is funding. So I'm curious if you know approximately the average household income annually of the families there. Do you have any idea? So people here can compare.
Okay.
Really low.
You're talking about an
Especially during the sabbatical year because there are many farmers.
You're talking about, first of all, you can't compare it here in many ways. Number one, people have 10 children and 7 children,
right.
8 children.
That's true.
So let's say, some families making 6,000 shekels a month or 7,000 shekels a month.
What is the exchange?
1 to 4. 1 to 4.
No, it's not exactly 1 to 4. It's
3.85. It doesn't matter, but
3 shekels to $1.
So think about 6,000 shekels,
3.86
trying to support 10
Shekels to
children.
1.
Some families do that. Okay, so that's...
So you think that roughly 6,000 shekels is approximately it?
One person.
One person.
If it's a couple, it's 12, but
I
it's
see.
still.
So, okay, so
Take
you're
them all
talking
together.
so everyone understands. So you're talking roughly $40,000 a year. I think it's good for people to have an idea of to support a large
So it's
family.
$3.8 to 1 shekel?
No, 3.8 shekels to each dollar.
Right.
Yeah, it's the other way around.
What is that?
40,000
$40,000
a
a
year.
year.
That's how people
3,000.
Let's say...
about it.
Okay.
So
That's 40,000.
No.
12,000 a month. 12
Times
about
12.
monthly.
Monthly.
I know.
monthly salaries.
So do it by hour, it's okay. I just did it by
But things in Israel,
All
of
right.
course, gasoline is a lot more expensive.
Try 3 times the
3
price.
times the price of gasoline.
I was there, I know.
Yeah,
I think fruit and vegetables seem to be a lot cheaper in Israel.
and more tasty.
And tzitzit are cheaper too.
Well, using tchila, I paid a lot of money, 150 shekels for my tchila. So.
My next question, there was a recent election, and I'm just curious with your opinion, with the new government that's being formed, do you see any changes from the previous government and this government? What do you see different?
Yeah, that's hard.
I don't, I personally, right now, first of all, the government's holding on by a thread at this point. It's a 61, talking about right-wing seats, but it seems to be stable. But if someone gets angry in there, one Chaver Knesset could rock the boat, put it that way. I think things are basically going to try to be status quo, trying to maintain a certain direction. For sure, it was a right-wing government, Bibi. Majority. Bibi is definitely pro-Eretz Yisrael Hashlema, we know that. He's trying to be diplomatic in how he deals with the world. A very, very difficult situation. But, I think that Itamar in places like us, I think obviously it's a lot better situation than it would have been if, God forbid, the left would have gone into power. And,
But you never know.
Right, and you never know the situation. The situation, of course, in Israel every day is like another, I would say 10 years goes by. Things that happen in the country.
It's not boring.
You don't know what's going to be.
The new government versus the last government, I was asking, not compared to if Netanyahu had lost. That's what I'm asking.
So I think that the Jewish Home Party, even though it only got 8 seats, Bibi owes them a lot, because a lot of potential voters for the Jewish Home voted for Bibi because he said, now, come on, do it, come out. So he owes them.
My mother confessed she voted Bibi.
Yes. A lot of people did. And I think that Bibi owes the Jewish Home Party, and they will only do good. And they're a healthy representation of Orthodox, but not flying up to the sky, grounded, working, work ethics, and love for the land, and love for the army. And I think that it's going to be good. Yeah.